What's going on, YouTube homies? Today is going to be something a little bit different than the videos that I've made in the past and stuff, man. Today I'm going to be kind of using this video as a sort of just journal or diary, you know, kind of get some stuff off my chest a little bit, right? Get some stuff that I've never honestly talked about with like really anybody before, and I want to speak my piece on it, man, because in light of the death of George Floyd and the protests and kind of the resurgence of an examination of racial issues in the United States and all that kind of stuff, man, a lot of people have been coming forward with their own experiences of like racial discrimination, prejudice, and just experiences they've had being a minority, being a black minority in America, and how they've been either mistreated or just seen sometimes as not being worth as much as like their white counterparts and stuff, right? And in light of that, I just kind of want to talk with you guys a little bit about a specific experience that I've had in my past and stuff that's kind of stuck with me and shaped some of my own sort of biases and perspective related to race and just interactions with I guess other races and stuff like that, from being a child to where I'm at now. And I just wanted to talk with you guys about it because I feel like there's a lot of other people in a similar situation to what I was in, right? Similar people that were black people that were considered, I guess, not the quote unquote norm of what a black person should be, right? About like what the stereotype was or what people expected a black person should act and talk like and that kind of thing. And I just wanted to share this with you guys in hopes that somebody out there might be able to relate, and it might give a little bit of hope or just sort of show some solidarity that you're not alone, man, and that you'll get past it, right? So this was in, I want to say, my sophomore year of high school, maybe junior. It might have been my junior year, but anyway, I was big into band, right? Like I was a super big band geek. Like I've always loved music and stuff since being younger. And then when I was in elementary school, I started playing an instrument. I started playing baritone, low brass, and from that point on, I continued to play it all the way up until like my college years and stuff, man. And I still play instruments to this day, but band was always my thing coming up in school, right? And it was it felt like a safe zone for me, right? It felt like one of those things where when I was there, I felt like I had a place where I belonged a little bit. I felt like that there were people who kind of got me and people that were similar to myself, and I didn't have or feel a lot of that going through school. Like I was never big into athletics or anything. I wasn't big into trying to party with people. Like I was hella just socially awkward now looking back on it, right? Like I kind of masked a lot of it with humor and everything, so I feel like I got away with a lot because people saw me as like friendly or just like a nice person because like I was always laugh and smile and that kind of stuff. But in reality, it was basically like a survival mechanism, right? Like I did that crap because I felt awkward in those situations, and it seemed to me like behaving that way, I had noticed that it helped me get through a lot of situations that I may not have otherwise if I would have behaved like my quote unquote self. Now, at that time, I don't know if I realized that or not. Like I may have, but looking back on it and reflecting on it as an adult and everything now, I think that was the truth of it, man. It was a survival mechanism. So going through school, man, there wasn't a lot of places that I felt comfortable at all. And then having something like band where I did feel like people got me, where I felt like I could actually be myself and express myself in the way that I wanted to express myself, that was such a gift. That was such a good feeling. And so I had a lot of good memories, experiences, and a high opinion of being in the band and stuff, right? And it was one of those places where like I didn't feel like my skin color mattered all the time. And just a little bit more background, like I grew up in a small town that like it had minorities, but black people were definitely like not everywhere, and let alone black people in the band, and let alone black people that were into the things that I was into. Because just from looking at the channel, right, like you guys know that I'm into Japanese culture, man. Like I love anime, like I freaking the Yakuza karaoke songs, like come on, man, like who's into that sort of stuff, right? And like that wasn't just something that you saw from black people, right? That's not what people expected you as a young black man at that time to be into, man. Like it was all the stereotypes, right? Where like you should be into sports, like you should be listening to like certain music, mostly rap music, like the stereotype goes and stuff, right? And like a lot of my interest in the things that I considered genuine to me were not those things, man. So when I was in band, I felt like for the most part I could be myself without having to try to fake or pretend to be into those sort of things. And there were moments here and there where like people would crack like edgy jokes, like they would say stuff about like black people or make like a fried chicken joke and just some other stuff. And not to say like it wasn't messed up, right? Like looking back on it, man, I should have probably knocked out a few people in all honesty, for some of the stuff that got said to me and everything. But like as a kid, man, like at the time and stuff, like, and especially growing up in that environment, you think that this is just something you have to deal with. You think this is something that people just do, and you think that you're soft for getting offended by it or something like that, man. And now I look at things a lot differently, but back then, man, that's kind of in my head, that's just the way it was. And I dealt with some of that in band, but not nearly to the extent of what you would see it like everywhere else and stuff, man. People just said such screwed up stuff sometimes, man. High schoolers are jackasses, dude. Like, don't get it twisted. Let's not lie. Let's just call it what it is, man. But in band, I felt like it wasn't like that. So one day, I remember it was during like band camp of that year where we were just like coming in from outside and everything. Like we got done doing like our drills and stuff for the day pretty much, and we were coming inside to like eat lunch and chill and all that. And then everybody's going to like their lockers and stuff to put stuff away. And then on my locker, like I see a piece of paper, right? And like, I didn't think this was uncommon because people will write like dumb crap on like people's lockers and stuff all the time, right? Like people will put stuff up on like a nameplate, but then people would draw like freaking like just penises on it, or just like whatever, like dumbass high schooler stuff, right? Like stuff that high schoolers would just like, they vandalize and they draw dicks, dude. Like that's just what that's just what high school kids do. They're freaking weirdos, man. But I remember looking at it and like not thinking much of it, and then I got closer and then I start to read the paper, right? And it's got writing on it, and then like in big bold letters it says, let me get it straight, I want to make sure that I'm telling you guys the right thing, man. It said like, get niggers out of here, or something to that effect, man. And I remember reading that and I was like, I was devastated, man. Like I can't even tell you, like really accurately put in the words how that made me feel, like why it was so fucked up, because it was one of those things, right, where like I always saw, like I was mentioning, right, I saw band as a place where like I know these people, and for like the most part, man, like I get along with everybody, like we're all cool and stuff. And to see something like that written down on like the locker that was meant for me and stuff, man, it hurt so bad. Like it felt like such betrayal, and like I felt like I really didn't know anybody anymore, right? Because in my back of my head, I thought I had an idea of who wrote something like this or who might have did it, but like I didn't know. And at that point, man, I thought that like I had genuine friends and was on genuine good terms with so many of the people there, and to see something like that hurt me to my core, dude. Like I just remember sitting there and like, not only did it hurt, but it was like embarrassing, right, to have that written there, and then like nobody said anything else, like nobody ripped it off. No, okay, so I take that back. Like on the paper in like small print, somebody wrote, I don't like that. Like the bare ass minimum, looking back on it, right? Where like somebody writes on a piece of paper like no niggers allowed, and then somebody's like, that's not okay, I don't like that at all. Like, I'm glad you don't like it, but like, you didn't ball up the paper, man. Like, you didn't come tell me, like you didn't come tell a band director, like you just let it rock and then you just wrote that on. Come on, man. Like like, I'm not gonna complain too much because like it's cool, like you shouldn't be cool with that language, but in reality, man, it's like that's the response, dude. Like, that's all we're doing. But whatever. But the main gist of it, man, it was like talking about like the racism piece was like that really made me kind of at that time especially feel like you never really know what people are thinking, right? I feel like it almost gave me like a sense of like paranoia almost, or just like it messed up my trust in people. And I think that's really sad, man. Like, is that moment right there showed me that like no matter how comfortable you are, there's always people out there, like there's always white people out there who view you as you're just a nigger. It doesn't matter, right? Like, no matter how cool you think you are with them, how cool how much you feel like you've built up relationships and just how many experiences you've had, some people just will always view you like that. And it messed me up there for a bit, man. I remember being kind of messed up for the whole rest of the day. And like, I know people saw that my energy was off and everything a little bit. Like, I wasn't the same way that I was before coming in for like that lunch period and like that break period. And I remember being so like embarrassed and stuff about it that I didn't even like show a band director. I didn't tell a teacher about it. Like, to this day, I don't think they know that was written there. And it was because I was too embarrassed to even show them that, right? Like, I didn't want it to be this whole thing where like they bring it up in like the middle of class. I'm like, who said this? Who said this? Like, I would have been freaking mortified, man. Like, that would have been more embarrassing than anything else. And I'm not trying to have them get up there and fight that battle for me and put me on the spot like that. So I never showed them a thing about it. But in my head, man, I think I made a huge mental note on that day of just like, wow, man, like you can't always trust people. Like, you gotta be careful that even in a place that you feel like is your comfort zone, when you're black, like, you have very little real comfort zones, if that makes any sense, right? Like, and that's so shitty to say, but like, it feels like that sometimes, right? Is that like when you're black, it sometimes feel like you have very few places where you can kind of let your hair down and be like the realest version of yourself, right? Because if you have a certain personality, you're not going to be black enough for the other black kids. And then for some people, you're always too black for the white kids. And for people that understand where I'm coming from with that, man, like, you get it, right? Where you don't always feel like you have a place and stuff, man. And as I've gotten older, like, fuck everybody, right? It's one of those things, man, where like, I'm me, and I'm not about to sit here and let you try to call me a name because you have some stereotype in your head of what black people are supposed to be like. It's not my job to fulfill that. And I feel like I'm way more confident in myself now than I ever was as a kid. But like, it's just sad that like to this day, man, like, you still got people that are like that feel like black people and black culture and what it means to be an African American person is just a list of stereotypes, and if you don't conform to that, there's something wrong with you, or you're trying to be white. And it's just, it gets so aggravating, you know? So I'll kind of leave this story time off there. I want to talk with you guys about that and let anybody who's young and black, boy or girl, that if you find yourself being into things that don't conform to what everybody else wants, you can make it, man. And also, there are other people out there like you, right? Like, there are like-minded people, and you're not alone. And I don't want you guys to ever feel like that. If you guys ever want to talk, I'm here for you, man. And I mean that genuinely. Like, if you ever feel like that and you want to shoot me a message or anything, man, like, I got you. I'm here to talk. So I'll stop rambling. I want to share that with you guys, kind of get that off my chest. And I appreciate you guys for listening, man. I'll see you guys next time.